Hey, business building warrior. This is Jim. Welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. I have a guest today. We turned on the video cameras. So if you'd like to meet Mr. Jason Hseih as we discuss his business today, his various income streams, you can jump over to YouTube and do that. Or as the vast majority of our listeners do, just hang out on your favorite listening app while you go about your day doing what you do. Thanks for listening either way. We appreciate you very much. I think some of the things you can expect from today's show are encouragement, some transparency from a fellow business building warrior who has really been through a grinder. He has seen some challenges and he's overcome them and he's doing some incredible things, but he's seen struggle in his family. He even brings up some of the childhood challenges that he's seen kind of filter into the way he does business and affected him as far as the way he processes opportunities and how big he feels he can grow his business based on some limitations he has in his own mind about what it means to succeed. We really kind of dive into the weeds of the psychology of being a successful entrepreneur. That's not what we set out to do, but there's a lot of really good content on that topic today. And you've heard me beat up a lot lately. I would say of the past 100 episodes, it's come up maybe 20 or 30 times. Where we talk about the private label model on Amazon and why you should not start trying to launch a brand on Amazon until you really know what you're doing and you have your feet under you. Well, today, Jason is a guy who, before he came to our community, just kind of launched into that and he struggled and eventually built something. So this is a success story with private label, but I think it illustrates very well how you better be ready for an uphill climb at the point when you start going down the road of trying to launch a brand on Amazon. And Jason spends a significant amount of time talking about what that journey has looked like and how he's succeeded, how he's overcome. COVID really put a big dent in his business, how he overcame that. It caused some struggle in his marriage, what he's doing about that. So this is a great episode today that I think will encourage you as to what's possible, what the real transparent challenges are. And I think you're going to walk away with some really good questions to ask yourself. That's going to leave you pondering some of the topics that we dove in today. And again, that wasn't the planned direction that we'd go today, but I'm kind of learning just to trust the topics that the listeners, that my guest wants to talk about. And I think that's how you'll see the most value from the show as we go forward, is let them kind of explore what it is they want to talk about, what's meaningful to them, with a great deal of transparency. So if you're listening today and you find yourself thinking, hey, I've got a story to share, I wouldn't mind sharing my story. Maybe it'll encourage somebody or serve someone else well with what I've been through as I'm building my business. Drop me a line. Go to silentjim.com. You'll find the contact information there. And by the way, you'll find links to everything that we talked about on today's show as well. Jason and I had a great conversation that there's a little bit of something for everybody, I think, here. So without any further introductions, let's jump over and meet Mr. Jason Hseih. So Jason, great to have you back on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It has been a few years since we last spoke.
It's been a couple of years. We'll have to put a link to that other episode in the show notes for folks. They can go back and hear, but get us caught up, man. What's happened since then? I know there's been a lot of ups and downs. Let's get into the story.
I think last time we spoke is before COVID. And since COVID, a lot of things happened. Maybe we can start in a timeline. 2020 is my worst year in my e-commerce roller coaster ride. I was on the edge of a bankruptcy and a divorce. For those of you that didn't hear the previous episode, I run a e-commerce brand called Lucky Kid. We design product for kids with learning disabilities. Majority of our customers are schools. And we all know what happened to all the school across the entire United States around the same time.
Right. Spell Lucky Kid for me so people can look it up.
Yes, it's L as Larry, A as Apple, K as King, I as ice cream, K as King, I as ice cream, D as dog, luckykid.com.
Lucky Kid.
Yeah.
What's the significance of Lucky? Not to interrupt you too much, but what's that word mean?
Lucky is a Hawaiian spelling of the same word. Lucky, like a lucky charm. So it's just a different spelling of the same word.
Oh, it's like luck as in good luck.
Yes, luck is good luck.
But for Hawaiian, it's Laki, L-A-K-I.
Yes.
Lucky Kid.
Yeah. We use the Hawaiian spelling because Hawaii have a lot of meaning to me and my wife when we started the business. And because all of our kids have Hawaiian name, because that's where me and my wife was originally met 15 years ago in a bus stop in Hawaii.
That's awesome. A bus stop.
Yes. That's how we met. It's actually, I got lost, or I pretend I got lost and got her phone number at the bus stop.
That's so great. Sometimes I wish this podcast had a theme of like relationships and just diving into the stories, because everybody's got great stories. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, this is a business podcast. So we'll get back on track here, but that is super cool. Met at a bus stop. You got her number for the score for the big win.
Yeah. Yes.
And 15 years later, here we are after a rough 2020. All right. Sorry I interrupted you, man. Keep it right.
No problem. But I think life and business right now is one of the same, like you always share. I listen to your podcast a lot, and going back to how I first started is back in 2017. I think I stumbled across one of your podcasts before I started my own e-commerce journey way back in actually 2016 is when I first started. I didn't start the current brand Lucky Kid until 2017. I was doing like book flippings, retail arbitrage, pretty much all those things that you taught in your course for beginner for the first year. But I got a little bit burnt out by that, because I remember every single weekend I need to go to library sales, garage sales, try to buy used books and flip it on Amazon for like a year. That's how I did. That's what I did for fun over the weekend. For like the entire year, I actually have a small storage unit that I end up renting, because I have so much book I was bringing, I couldn't fit into the apartment I was renting back then. My wife was like, "Where's all this book coming from?" So why do you have all this book? So that's where I think it's a transition in my entrepreneurial journey, moving from that where I was to doing private label. And I think right now I really grow. And going back to the story about 2020, where I was at the lowest point of my life, and because of COVID, but it forced me to reset. It forced me to rethink on how I was running the business, because actually I wasn't running the business. The business was running me.
Oh, yeah. I understand exactly what you mean.
Yeah,
it was telling you what to do instead of the other way around.
It was telling me what to do. I was trying to put out the fire for the business instead of me working on the business. I was in the business 24 hours, and I have 3 kids at home and a full-time job. Back then, I still have a full-time job right now, but good news is I'm committed to leave my day job this year. I'm actually about to submit my resignation letter pretty soon, either this month or next month.
Oh, so, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's great. What's your full-time job?
I'm a senior cost accountant in the medical device corporation. It's one of those giant companies with 10,000 or more employees, so they don't really treat you like a human being, that kind of deal.
One of those. Are you okay with us using your name and face on YouTube? Is that all right?
Actually, I already told my supervisor all about me leaving, so 100% okay with that.
I'm pretty sensitive to that. I don't want to make anything happen like what happened to me.
Oh, yeah.
It's been 20 years ago, but still, it hurts. Fired me the next day.
I think I'm ready for that. I was doing the calculation. I'm actually losing money working for my day job right now, because with my 2 business combined, of course, on top of e-commerce brand, I have another business I started. I mean, if you put it into an hourly wage, I make about $500 an hour. But my day job paid me about $50 an hour. It's still a 6-figure income. It's still a good income, but I'm losing, just do the math. I'm losing $450 working for a day job I hate. And it sucked my energy and all that. Why am I doing that? Losing money doing that.
It's a fun conversation with your boss. Like, I couldn't afford
to work for you anymore. Exactly. You are making me losing money to working for you. So stupid. So the only reason why I'm even still working in the business, because I'm looking to buy a new house in Arizona right now. And the mortgage market right now is not very good for buyers. So I do need that W-2 to close the house. Then after I close the house or at least finish that pre-approval process, then I'm set. I don't really need that W-2 anymore. That's the only reason I'm still in the position I'm in right now with my day job.
It's a little easier to get that home loan you guys are trying to land.
100%.
Yeah, yes, I got you. That makes total sense. The world still doesn't understand all these crazy e-commerce entrepreneurs, does it?
They don't. I actually need to find a mortgage officer that specializes in entrepreneur. It took me a long time to find, because otherwise you need to submit like maybe 20 pages of document, your like all the income statement for the past 5 years, and all the crazy stuff that they ask for, because they just don't understand. So, but going back to the original question you're asking, 2020 is really, really tough. I used to have a team of 7 back then. I was really in 2019. My business was really picking up, but then 2020 kind of put me into a very awkward position with 200,000 of inventory sitting in my warehouse that's not selling. But I need to pay back all the interest.
Wow.
That was
$200,000 or units?
$200,000 of inventory.
$200,000 of inventory. And because school shut down, COVID, nobody was buying anything.
No one was buying anything. Yes.
Man,
but I still need to pay my bills. So.
We are still feeling the pain of what I think is going to be one of the biggest mistakes in world history, shutting everything down.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. And I'm so sorry for what that put you through, man.
Yeah.
That's awful.
But like I shared with you before we start recording is it actually ended up to be a blessing because it forced me to reset, look at my business a whole different way. I came across a wonderful book called Traction by Jill Wickman that talk about entrepreneurial operating system. And I spent 6 months reading, implementing it and understanding the system and implementing it into my business. And the very next year, last year, I was able to turn business around. I did over 600,000 last year.
That's beautiful. And I've read that book recently too. I had another friend recommend it. Like, you got to read this. And I checked it out. I liked it. It's a good business for thinking. It's a good book for thinking about your business as a system. Here's all the moving parts.
And I actually just finished doing, I was invited as a speaker on a different network. Of course, I'm not going to say their name because it might have some conflicting interests, but I was a speaker at a different e-commerce networking, I guess, group. They invite me to speak to show my system because I spent 6 months on like really fine tuning it for my system. And I have the 6 component in EOS: people, vision, tractions, data, and also processes. And I have every single thing is being documented for my business, including the way we compensate our employee right now. I have a team of 8 now. So I have a bigger team than before. And this year we are on track to do 1.2 million with my e-commerce brand. So
that's phenomenal. Good for you, man. So you've got all your standard operating procedures and you've got all these systems.
This couple of things is really unique. I don't think no one's doing. First, I do group meditation with my entire team because this business is all about mindset. I mean, I've been in this business 2016. It's not about the strategy, the tactic. That's important, but it's not as important as your mindset. Like one of your favorite saying, I always say to my team member is success is like a candlelight, not a cake. And we should all have this mentality when we talk about our competitor, because some people will choose over us, over our competitor, because they resonate with our brand, resonate with the way we sell and the way we package our product. Even so, there's a lot of competitors on Amazon, but doesn't mean that we need to be in this cutthroat situation and try to kill each other. We can all share the success across the platform because Amazon last year for third-party seller over $100 billion that's generated from people like us. So that's a lot of money to be shared around.
Yes, that is so good. And I love how you've applied that to your team. Success is like candlelight, not cake. It's specifically when you're talking about your direct competitors even.
Yeah.
There's no reason we can't both succeed. They're not the ones stopping you from success. It's us and our mindset.
One thing I share a lot with my team is I'm always 100% transparent with my product, with my process, with my strategy. Because guess what? Our competitor can copy everything we do. They can copy our product strategy. Even they can take away my email list if they wanted to. But guess what? They can never copy my passion, the amount of emotion, the passion, the knowledge I have. Because I started this business because my son have a special needs. And guess what? Most of my competitor doesn't start out with that intention. They start out because they find this widget, they want to make money on Amazon, not because they have a kid, they want to make a difference in the world. And this is something I always share with my team. Over the next 10 years, I want to make changes, 1 million lives of family that got impacted by learning disabilities across the globe. That is my calling in my life. So,
I've got something popping in my head, Jason. I think will provide you some value and maybe the listeners too. But I heard an angel investor speaking one time. And the question he was asked was like a panel. I loved his answer. Someone in the audience said, if you had to break down the most important single factor when you decide if you're going to put money into a business or not, like, and you had to break it down to just like one key thing, the biggest, most important factor, what would you say it is? and he thought for a moment. I can't remember who it is. Maybe it was Mark Cuban. I can't remember which one it was. But he said, I want to see the passion and the purpose behind the person running the business. I want to hear them say it. I want to see their heart. And if you get someone who's so passionately sold out, their education doesn't matter. Their business plan may not even matter all that much. How well funded they are, their vision of what they're trying to build, those things become very secondary. If you've got someone who's passionate, committed, has the right mindset, you're unstoppable. You mix that with a good business plan, and of course, it's an amazing thing to behold. But this is, I'm sitting here listening to you, like I'm imagining you in front of a group of investors, and like, where do I sign? Yeah, here's $100,000 right now. Go. Turn it into more money for me. You got this.
I will 100% agree with that, because without that level of passion, I would have given up back in 2020 with everything that was going on with COVID and with all the pressure. And like I was sharing that, I was also on the edge of divorce because I wasn't 100% transparent with my wife with all the business borrowing I had going on. Pretty much I borrowed against my house for the inventory that I'm trying to buy. So that was a very awkward and difficult conversation. Pretty much I just lay out the number. This is where we are at, because I took on this risk for the business, but COVID happened and this is where we are at. And she just told me, I need to figure this out. Otherwise, she's just going to take the kids and move back to Japan. So that was a very difficult situation back then.
And I'm sure it was a longer, more complex conversation than that, but still one that had to just be so hard for both of you. Yeah. And thank you for the transparency, because we certainly don't expect you to share that much detail. But when you do, what I can tell you happens, Jason, there's someone out there listening to this right now. They're in that spot. Yeah. And you're providing them a lot of hope. Their marriage is strained because of some bad business decisions, bad financial situation. That's the number one cause last time I looked of divorce is financial strain.
Yeah.
So thank you for your transparency there, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I think it's very important because a lot of people only share positive or like the good thing on social media, never share about the struggle as much, because people feel very awkward sharing about this kind of stuff. So
yeah, that's so true. That's great. Well, keep your story going, man.
Yeah, so I think then we talk about how I overcome it. So I think the implementation itself for the EOS really, really helped. And one more thing I think is really unique for those of you that's listening that have a team. I implemented this last year and I see tremendous results. So every single team member on my team, every single year, we have an annual goal, of course. First of all, we have a 10-year target, which is trying to be an 8-figure business. A 3-year goal, which is by the end of 2024, we want to be around 3 million in top line revenue. Then we have a 1-year goal. So for this year, by the end of this year, 2022, we try to hit 1.2 million. Then we break it down to even smaller detail into a quarterly goal. What are we going to accomplish each quarter? And I have 8 team members. So every single team member has 3 quarterly rocks. It's just how EOS use the term rock, it just means goals.
Big rocks. Yeah.
Exactly. And that is tied with their quarterly compensation. In order to get 100% of their quarterly bonus, which is equivalent to 1 week worth of pay, you need to achieve all 3 quarterly rock, which each account for 25%. And the remaining 25% is the company rock. Everyone win. If you get 100%, you win, I win, the company win. Everyone win. And since I implemented, I feel like there's a lot more synergy within the company, and people are striving because for a traditional Philippine team, they have what's called 13 months pay. But I hated that idea because you're just incentivizing your employee to get pay if they didn't get fired after 12 months, which I do not like that idea at all. So I turned that idea on its head. So that's just at the end of the year, you still get paid the same amount, but instead of just getting paid for the sake of getting paid, it's tied with a performance structure that's really, really structured alongside with our business goal. So
yeah, you mentioned the 13th month. I know that's big, and I know it's big in the Philippines.
Yes.
Other cultures have adopted that too, I guess, because you haven't really talked much about the Philippines. Is that like a Hawaiian thing as well, or is it more an Asian thing?
No.
Like, where's that come from? I've only heard about it in the Philippines.
I think it's more about Philippines. My entire team is in Philippines. So
okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, that makes sense then. Yeah. Because the Filipino culture, for those who don't know, have that concept. You mentioned the 13th month, which basically you get a full month's pay at the end of the year. It's just expected.
Yes.
And we even
like
had to let one
bonus.
of our virtual assistants go after a few weeks because she'd been working with us a few weeks, maybe a couple months. And one of the 13th month, because it was the end of the year, we're like, no, we don't do that. Not after you just been here a few weeks.
So that's where the initial expectation is really important. And for us, is you need to be here at least three months before we see the first bonus. I mean, we do quarterly bonus. So.
Yeah. But you're talking about, some people call them KPIs, key performance indicators.
Yes.
You get these, you attach people's pay to their performance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm a decent case study of that, actually. I've got a team of 100 people.
Yeah.
But 2 of them are full-time employees that pretty much get the same paycheck pretty much every week.
Yeah.
The rest, it's work when you can, work when there's work to do.
Yeah.
Perform at a high level, come in and enjoy the platform that we've built, get paid well to do it. And we may not work together for 2 or 3 weeks, and then we'll be back at hitting a project, doing some work together, right? But there's always a measure of what's expected.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you know when you're doing a good job? There's none of this just showing up to work and playing solitaire on the laptop and getting paid, right?
It's tricky when your entire team is virtual. It's like you couldn't watch over them. Even so, I do use a time tracking software, but it's still not 100% proof. It's really about, that's why right now my main role in my business is Chief Visionary Officer. I set a vision, then everyone go implement. I have a COO work under me. So I have a structure. I'm the CEO, the visionary. I have a COO, which is my implementer. Then I divide my entire business into 3 different departments: sales and marketing, operation, and finance. Under sales and marketing, I have an in-house social media manager, copywriter, graphic designer, and digital marketer. Under operation, I have a customer service rep, a website developer, also a supply chain specialist to handle the supply chain, then also a product developer. Then under finance, I have a bookkeeper and also an Amazon case manager. So with with my current setup, I'm actually pretty confident I can scale to 8-figure without hiring a lot of additional help. So
that is tremendous. And so tell us about the products a little bit. You mentioned Lucky Kid, and that makes up a significant part of your overall income and the business model you just described. That's all supporting your Amazon brand on Lucky. Are you selling off Amazon anywhere?
Yes, 20% of our revenue currently coming from ClickFunnels/Shopify. So we do Shopify a lot of advertising, digital advertising. Actually, all of our direct response ad go to a funnel, like a ClickFunnels, like a free plus shipping funnel or a deep discount funnel. We have a lead generation funnel. For those of you who want to check out all the funnel, go visit sensorydeal.com. That's all of our funnel. We have like 30 different funnel on there.
It's sensorydeal.com.
Yeah, Sensory Deal. Yeah, so
DEAL?
DEAL, yes.
Sensory Deal.
Yeah.
DEAL. Sensorydeal.com.
Yeah.
We'll stick that in the show notes. So people can check it out and see what you're doing there.
Yeah, because what we do outside is we are accumulating a huge email list, about 35,000 email right now.
Good for you.
And another 12,000 SMS on text. I mean, we can text people. And then we have another maybe 30,000 addresses that we can do postcard marketing with. So
nice. We're getting ready to do some physical address mailing too. I've got 250,000 mailing addresses that I've never used.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I've never used them.
Oh, you should try. Yeah.
It's a gold mine for somebody to step up. But we are starting to do a print newsletter that's going to be going out. For those who are listening, we'll have more information. I might stick a link in the show notes if we're ready to start taking more opt-ins, if you want to put your address in and get our free newsletter when it starts here soon. But yeah, I love it. So you're collecting, that's an old Dan Kennedy thing. When someone asked him, he kind of went from the old school marketing, fax machines and postcards, and he slowly integrated into the digital age with this, that was all new to him. But someone asked him, so what's the best way to market and reach your audience? Is it email? Is it at the time there's like fax, postcard, text, phone call? What is it? He's like, use all of them. Are you kidding me? If it's a net positive return, you use all of them.
100%.
You get as much contact information as you can and you use all of it.
And one thing I do a little bit differently than a typical e-commerce business is because I also sell a lot of digital product. I have digital ebooks that we sell. We have digital courses and we also have paid membership services that we provide. So,
Yeah, multiple streams of income.
Yeah.
And this podcast is listened to primarily by a lot of people who sell physical products on Amazon, which I believe and would argue very strongly that it is the best low-hanging fruit opportunity of our time. Hands down, no question in my mind. But I love what you're doing is you're tacking on other streams of income. You're growing your own mailing list. You found a product that you could attach yourself to that you believe strongly in. You didn't start necessarily there with a huge success. It took some time, but now that you're there, and I like to kind of keep that out there as a goal that our viewers and listeners can have is at some point, you do want to start to have something that belongs to you that you don't have to share with Amazon. You don't have to share with another third party, right? At some point, you don't necessarily start there. I actually discourage starting there because it is a treacherous path.
It is. But however, I think a common trap is some people could not see beyond the product. They always think about, okay, let me try to find a widget. Let me find this garlic press. But it's not about the garlic press. It's about the people who's using it. If you can find people who are passionate about cooking, then you can sell all kinds of stuff that support their passion. So it's not about the widget. It's not about the product. It's really about the customer you're trying to serve.
Yeah. Well, it just, this will resonate with you, Jason. You've heard me say it before, probably if you've listened to some podcast episodes. But as we start to think as a brand owner, as someone who's growing a community, the greatest asset you will ever have. And I shared this with my team. We had a meeting today, a couple coaches and some strategy session. I shared it with my team today. The greatest asset we have, the greatest asset any business can ever have, from my vantage point, is a community of people who are waiting to see what they do next. And they're excited about it. They want to hear from you. They want to work 100%. With you. That community is the asset, not this new widget that you're coming out with or the new course or whatever it is, the latest and greatest, because that'll be irrelevant 5 years from now, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But you could still have the same people in your life
100%.
who still care what you have to say if you're treating them well and building those relationships. So that's the asset.
And they will tell you what you want, what they want, and you just go out and create it for them.
Exactly. What do you guys want to do next? Don't try to guess. I stopped having to be the smartest guy in my business as soon as it grew, 3-4 people, 3-4 customers. Okay, guys, what do you want to do now? That's all I've done for 20 years.
Yeah. So I mentioned about we are working on launching 7 products this year. All the product idea will come from our audience. It's from our Facebook.
They've given you the ideas. Tell us about your customers a little bit. Who are these? Who are these folks? You've got the schools. Do you have anything that's not school related?
The two major audience for us, of course, is educators that's working in mostly elementary school because most of our products designed for kids age 3 to 12, I would say. And then the next biggest audience is parents like myself that have kids with special needs. That's looking for a solution for their home, that's looking for building a sensory room, sensory gym in their house, or looking for a different product to help their kids with anxieties, with concentration, with sleep issue. And that's the two biggest audience that we serve. So.
Yeah, you sent me a few samples. I think my kids have walked away with them. I've got teens now. I don't have any young kids. They're all out of the demographic that you just described.
Yes.
But they love sitting there punching the little thumb.
Oh, yes.
So it's walked away. I had it here by my desk and it's gone. But some really neat stuff that you've come up with and developed. It tends to move around my house. Picking it up and playing with it.
We have a few different fidget toy that we designed. Like our best-selling product is a fidget marble maze. I don't have one with me right now, but it's really just a marble with a fabric. It's a piece of fabric with marble sewn into the fabric, so you can push the marble around.
Yeah, the maze. You sent me one, and I played with it. It is. It's very. It's it's just a nice break from screens too. I don't know if you advertise it that way or not. If you've tried that, but. You just get your kid's face off a screen and get something into their hands that, commands attention, requires, and there's a sense of achievement there, but they're not looking at a screen. Very valuable.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that product got suspended by Amazon 3 weeks ago. We're trying to get it back on.
Let's see.
Unfortunately, it's our best-selling product, but it got suspended. But it is what it is. So,
Amazon's it's like having a roommate that, sometimes you love him and he's just awesome. And other times, he's just a big pain in the butt.
I have another analogy I always use with my team when we talk about Amazon. Amazon is actually a casino. We're all gambling in this casino called Amazon, and each one of us have a slot machine that brings out different money. However, house always win. There's no way we can win against.
They're winning no matter what.
Exactly.
Sometimes, quite often, if you know what you're doing, you can win along with them. Yeah. So it's
true.
a really good odds. That's a fair analogy. I could pick it apart with you over a meal sometime and have fun with that one. I like that.
Yeah.
But so what else, man? Let's get into any rest of your story that you wanted to share with us. There's some really good nuggets in here today.
Oh, that's so much. I don't know where to start. I think this year right now, I'm really looking. That's one more thing I can share. I think some people will resonate. Earlier this year, actually last month, I hit my hidden barrier. So hidden barrier is a concept that was written by another business book I read. It's called The Big Leap. And inside the book, it talk about where 99% of all humanity, we are preset either by ourselves, by our subconscious, or maybe by our parents, a certain amount of success that you can never go beyond. And most people die without never hitting that limit. It's called upper limit. And of course, different guru, different people talk about it a little bit differently, but the concept itself is the same. For me, my upper limit is $1 million. And guess what? Because in my since 2016, I've been entrepreneur for 6 years. I never hit that yet. My best year, which is last year, recovering from COVID, I did over 600,000. This year, I'm on track with my own e-commerce brand, 1.2 million. I have a second business I started. That business is growing really fast. We should be on track to do 2.3 million for the second business. The two business combined, we should be doing 3.5 million. But guess what? That's where my self-conscious come up and start stabbing myself in the back. Like that's what I was doing the whole month, last month. Like everything was on fire. My family got COVID, and I got into the argument with my business partner. Then I got into the argument with my supervisor, with my day job. Pretty much, it's just like things happening all at the same time when I know I'm about to hit and go beyond my limit. And that's something I talk with because I also have a business coach right now with Tony Robbins. And that's what my Tony Robbins coach tell me. It's like, okay, you need to figure out how to break through this barrier. And there's different way to do it. Like mentally, you need to kind of overcome that. So I think that's an interesting part to kind of break down a little bit, because everyone have a different version of it. So
yeah. And you know what, I've heard a study, it's been probably a decade or so ago, a pastor I was listening to shared that a survey was done. They asked a whole bunch of people, who is rich from your vantage point? What does it mean to be rich? What kind of annual income would you need to say, okay, now I'm rich? And the vast majority of people answered within a very small percentage of double what they were currently earning.
Okay.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
That kind of goes into forming that upper limit concept.
Yeah.
If I was making twice as much as I'm making now, poof, I'd be doing great. And it doesn't matter what you're making now, but that's a limit. You've just set a limit.
Yes.
And as you approach that, you're going to self-sabotage, and you're going to do things to slow your momentum, because it's scary on the other side of that unknown.
100%. Yeah.
And here's what I think's going on, just to dive into this topic a little bit, Jason, because I love this subject. I think our culture pounds us in 1,000 different ways with this message.
Yeah.
Being rich is bad. Being rich is evil. Being rich, you need to give back. Being rich means you've taken from a bunch of people and you better make up for it somehow. Otherwise, you're a bad person. So then we start to add those two messages together. Okay, what's it mean to be rich? I make about twice as much as I do. You start to make that much money. You start thinking of yourself as rich. I'm a bad person. Right? So self-sabotage starts kicking in, because we know from this is one of the oldest rules of psychology, Jason, is if you don't find virtue in the thing that you're doing, you will find creative ways to self-sabotage. I mean, they even figured this out in the 60s and 70s with kids that are always getting hurt. They're always tripping, bumping into things, bruising their knee, falling, trip. They're just klutzy. A lot of times those kids are struggling with inner guilt, because they're getting away with things they don't think they should be getting away with. Not all klutzy kids are that way, but there's a connection there, right? We self-sabotage. So I love that you brought up this topic, because one of the things we've got to break through in here, and I'm going to tell you how I've broken through it, and maybe this will be useful for you or for others. But it's this simple concept. You've heard me say it before. the only way to succeed in business,
Mm-hmm.
or I should say, if you're making a profit in business, I should say, if you're making a profit, you are dramatically and positively impacting the lives of countless other people. And to the degree that you make more profit, those numbers even grow more.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
It's
And
impossible. It's
I see
impossible to profit without dramatically positively improving the lives of other people.
100%. I think you mentioned in your previous podcast, you kind of say money is a token for appreciation. I really like that concept. So, and one more thing I want to share is more of a personal side is in the book that I read, you talk about there's a lot of hidden barrier that is going to hit you when you are about to hit your upper limit. One of it is feeling fundamentally flawed. I'm reading from a book right now, but for me, since age of 15, I always feel like I was a completely a failure because in Taiwan at age of 15, you need to pass a test to get into high school. I took the test. I got into number 7 out of all high school in Taiwan, but that's not good enough for my parent. My parent want me to get into top 3. If I didn't get into top 3, I failed. So they sent me to study abroad in this boarding school in Toronto, Canada. With a stranger that I don't know. It's like my parents' friend in their basement alongside with their dog, which I have so much like trauma from that experience. Even to today, I'm still trying to get out of that mindset of like being abandoned and being a failure and being sent to this like completely strange country that I didn't even speak any English back then. 0. I don't speak the language. And I got sent to this like new country with living with like someone I don't even barely know. And since then, deep inside, I did an exercise with Tony Robbins course last year. It's called 7 Level Deep. Inside that exercise, he teach you to discover what is the true motivation for everything that you do. Guess what? This is what I find out. I start my business because I want to prove to my parent that I'm worthy of love.
Mm.
I'm
That's
worthy
kind
of
of sad.
approval. Yeah.
That's a sad motivational factor to have to deal with, man. That's heavy to carry. You're being very transparent, man. Thank you. So what did that mean? What are you doing with that? How are you handling that?
So what I did last month, I wrote a letter to a 15-year-old boy and burned it. So I can let it go.
For you, to yourself.
To myself. And I burned it so I can let it go. So I say, okay, this is what happened. What happened to you is not your fault. You actually make me stronger at the end. And this is all happening for you, not to you. And I wrote a huge letter to myself and I burned it. So
that's incredible. Good for you, man. What a journey. You going to write a book about all this?
Maybe I will.
I think you should. I think you should. You know, because I hear that a lot about the Asian cultures, just how aggressive they are about academic achievement.
Yeah.
And the reality is, I want to hear what you have to say about that.
Yes.
I'm just a point of curiosity for me. But the reality is, academic achievement is meaning less and less.
Yeah. And
there's less and less attachment between that and success, however 100%. You want to measure it. There's 100%. A big drift happening right now. And really, the only thing a college degree gets you is, you know, that validation that, you know, if I just paid enough money, I could get the same stamp on a piece of paper, but I guess I'm going to go to school and, you know, spend time in a chair to get that piece of paper. And it's meaning less and less for most. I would say 95% of all the educational degrees out there are losing value right now.
Yeah. But the interesting part of this story is I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. So my parents and with my uncle and my aunt, 4 of them started their own business in their apartment because the house in Taiwan is so small, there's no garages. So the very same year when I was born. So they started this business the same year I was born, and I got sent to live with my grandma because they have no time to take care of me with this startup business they're trying to run. But over the year, they grow this business so big, it became an international corporation. They have over 100 employees in Taiwan, a huge factory in China, and overseas offices, I think 10 different locations across the world. However, because of that, I believe inside of me, the 15-year-old version of me, I associate success with disconnection. associate success with loss of relationship. I associate that because that's what happened to my dad. When he becomes so successful, he is always physically there, but he was never emotionally and spiritually there for me and my sister.
Wow. So transparent, man. I appreciate this very much. And that's very insightful. Those are hard conclusions, excuse me, to come to, even as an adult. But that's been my vision for this community, just kind of hearing what you're saying and kind of merging it into the vision and mission that we have in this community. I was a dad who got to come home and be there to see my kids grow up. I've been doing this 20 years. I got to watch my kids grow up all around me, come into my office. Like we're right now, the door would swing open. Here comes my daughter with a drawing that she's colored for me or something. I grew up with that reality. So the message I want to send out to other dads, it's easier for me to relate to dads than moms because I'm a dad. But it is possible to build an incredible, amazing business and still be the kind of husband and the kind of dad that you're capable of. It is possible. That's what I'd like to think that we're doing specifically for dads in this community. And I think that's what you've bumped up against is, can I do that? Yeah. Because you didn't have it demonstrated to you. You begin to question if it was even possible, perhaps.
100%. Yeah.
Man,
it's a tricky balance. It's a very tricky balance when you get to a certain point. Like I shared earlier, like sometimes you feel like you're now running the business running you. Mm-hmm. So that's where it is. But this year, like that's why I share a lot of the deep thing, because I'm really on the soul searching journey this year. I always tell my wife and my team, this is my transformation year. My 3 major goals this year is to leave my day job, buy a new house, and move to Arizona. That's my 3 goals this year, or a personal goal for 2022. And I'm on track to do all 3 of them right now. So,
well, you brought up a subject, and it's kind of hanging in the back of my head, and you're the one being transparent. So hopefully I'm not prying too much, but could you bring us up to speed? Like, things good in the house now? I mean, you said there was a lot of stress in 2020. How are things different now? And how's business kind of fitting into the whole picture?
This year is a tricky one because my wife just got test positive with COVID a couple of days ago. So this week is not a best week, but we are still kind of in the middle of trying to figure out. But one thing is I officially got escorted out of my home office and I got a co-working space instead because my wife just have enough of me always working from home. And I think it's best for our relationship and, so I can give my wife some space and she can give me some space. Otherwise, I just have meeting all day and just go out and ask for lunch. So,
yeah. So. It's good to separate. I think it helps separate work from business too. Everybody kind of has their 100%. Own preferences, but you need that space that you can walk away from and kind of switch hats. Unless and until your family's kind of integrated into the business, which we have a degree of that. Like everybody works in some way.
Yeah. My sister actually worked in the business alongside with me. My sister. My wife is just not as involved because of the 3 kids. So,
gotcha. Well, man, there's a lot of transparency, a lot to unpack today. If I was a psychologist, we could have gone deeper on some of these topics in a fun way, maybe. But I'd love to stay in contact with you, man, and just let me know what hills you're climbing and what battles you're fighting. And because I want to be here to support dads who are trying to build something significant in their marriage, in their fatherhood, and in their business, and do them all the right way with balance. And I'm not even a big fan of that word balance. It's more of a just doing them all to the way they know they're capable of. And it's not an easy thing to juggle. It's just not.
It's not. Yeah. It took me 6 years and still trying to figure out.
Yeah. Well, my best tip usually when I talk to dads who are in that situation or parents at all is, integrate your kids in as much as you can. And even like my spouse, she's not really interested in Amazon, e-commerce, entrepreneurship at all. But I still bounce what she is good at is relational stuff.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And what she is good at, like this art, this is all her art. So
I met her in one of the events a couple of years ago. She's awesome.
Right. So that's me integrating her into the parts that she wants to be a part of.
Actually, one of the products I'm launching this year, my wife designed it.
Beautiful. That's a great. I'm so glad you shared that with us. I think I can hear the listeners going, yeah, Awesome. That's
And
good.
and what I do with my kids is we go live together. We do a quarterly giveaway. Like last Christmas, we do a 7-day of Christmas giveaway. Every single day, we just go live with my kids and we dress up in like Christmas like, pajama and just talk about stuff and pick a winner and just give away stuff.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
Yeah.
Because it's in those moments where you lose track of, am I being a good dad right now, or a good husband, or a good entrepreneur? I don't know. I think I'm doing all three.
All three, right? Exactly.
You want to maximize those moments.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to do more and more, and try to, just try to have some fun. That's one of my core value for the business, is have some fun. Yes, and we are passionate about our work. So yeah.
That's awesome. Man, Jason, it's been great hanging out with you today, buddy. I don't know is there anything else on your list? I need to start wrapping this one up, or I'm going to get in trouble with my wife because we've got company coming soon. I told you before we started recording, I had a pretty good chore list today.
I don't have a lot of other things going on. I think that one more thing I want to share before we end the call. There's a different book I read. I read a lot of business book, I guess. It's a book called, I think the actual name for the book is Genius Zone. So in the book, it talk about, for every single work, it fall into 4 different categories: a zone of competence, zone of incompetence, zone of excellence, which is something you're really, so those first two is very easy to understand, right? It's incompetent, you just suck at it. Competent, you can kind of do it. Excellent, this is where everyone fall into trap, that something you're really good at, but it doesn't fire you up and doesn't motivate you. And where zone of genius is something you're really, really good at, and you get energized by doing it. And that's exactly where we should be at every single day as an entrepreneur. For me, my zone of genius is talking to people like you, talking to fellow entrepreneurs, talking to parents, talking to my customer, talking to my partners. That fire me up. That get me energized. And that is what I should be doing every single day, 40 hours a week. And I shouldn't do anything else besides my zone of genius. And of course, I'm not doing that 100% yet. And I'm trying to do more and more of that in my business right now. I mean, on my business. So.
I love that. And I have heard of that book as well. Actually, I think I've ever read it. I've heard that concept. Maybe I watched a video. Who's the author on that? Do you know offhand?
I don't remember the
Is that Simon Sinek? It's not a Simon, is it? I don't think.
I don't remember the author's name.
But you can
Google it. Yeah.
I love that concept, as long as I'm allowed to say, I think your zone of genius can grow.
Yes.
I think it can change.
True. It can change.
Drift. If that concept's included, because what I've noticed is, and I always use the example of the dry cleaner here in town where I live. There's a dry cleaner, and I want to meet the guy that owns this place, because everyone who works there is friendly. They're prompt. They're smiling. They wave when the van drives by. Like, it's like the Chick-fil-A of dry cleaning. But the question I want to ask that guy, if I ever meet him, is, did you grow up dreaming of being a dry cleaner? And I'm almost certain it's going to be no. Like, no, what kid? I wanted to be Superman, a fireman, or Captain America. What I was like, and this isn't that, right? But he's in his zone of genius, right? How'd that happen? Well, I think it has to do with a little bit what we talked about earlier. Is if you can start to envision the people you're serving, and you're feeling like you're improving their lives, and you use the phrase, those tokens of appreciation. That's all money is. Yeah. So when you start serving others well, and they start lining up to say thank you, it really doesn't matter what you're doing. You're going to feel like you're in your zone of genius. It's like, look at all these people that appreciate what I'm doing.
That's true. Yes.
So that gives you a lot of opportunity to kind of grow that zone. Right?
Yeah, the reason why I want to share that, because I know a lot of entrepreneur friends that's doing private label, but they hate the product they sell. That's just so sad. I mean, why do you even pick something that you don't even use yourself to sell? Yeah. So that's like,
you sell something you don't believe in, something that goes against your ethical values or something, you want to be proud of it for sure. Because otherwise, again, we get into that self-sabotage thing.
100%.
I feel like we kind of had a psychologically intense episode today, but it was fantastic. I had such a good time.
That's what my team member always says. Like, sometimes our team meeting feel like a therapy session.
Exactly. But that's when you're connecting all those different parts of life.
Yeah.
You can just talk passionately about it and speak from the heart, and you don't have to remember what you said, because you're telling the truth, and it'll be the same tomorrow. And it's just it's who you are, and that just resonates. I feel like we really got to know Jason today. So I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. So.
Lackey Kid is the brand. The website is sensorydeal, DEAL.com, sensorydeal.com. Go check it out, see how he runs his business. And we're certainly rooting for you, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, get out there and hit that, was it 1.2 million on the Sensory toys and 2.3 and the other businesses and things you've got going on, man. Beautiful models. I love it. Well, I'm going to talk to the listeners now for just a second, wrap this one up, okay?
Thank you.
So hopefully, listener, you enjoyed this as much as I did today. Thanks for hanging out with Jason and I. It was really cool getting to know this guy a little better. And we'll stick links in the show notes to everything we talked about today, as well as his first episode where Jason joined us. You can kind of see his journey a little bit. But hopefully you enjoyed this episode. We'd love to hear your feedback. Let us know what you thought. If you want more of this kind of episode, it's a little bit of a break from Amazon tips and strategies, but we hit on some very important thoughts today, and hopefully some challenging and encouraging segments that really move you in a positive direction, whatever it is you're trying to build. So God bless all the business building warriors. Hey, Jason, man, great job. I appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. We'll do this again sometime soon. And to all the business building warriors, we're in your corner. God bless you. We'll talk to you real soon.